What's up, incoming senior? My name is David, and I would like to personally congratulate each and every one of you guys for making it through what is supposedly the worst year of your life. Get ready to enter what most people refer to as the best year of your life, aka your senior year. All that grinding you had to go through just for a 5.0 GPA, all those tedious club meetings you had to sit through, you can say goodbye to all those unpleasant experiences because you'll never have to deal with it again. But now you'll have to worry about taking the SAT and college applications, which is probably more work than anything you've witnessed in your junior year. But hey, at least you won't be stressing over classes because now your grades won't matter as much. Anyway, since it is summertime and most of your incoming seniors are starting on your college applications, I thought I would do you guys a favor and basically highlight the whole process and sort of give you guys an overview of the timeline I would recommend you guys to follow to make this process as stress-free as possible. Now, before I actually get into this video, I would like to address that this video is more centered around applying to a four-year institution. So if you're trying to apply to like a community college or something, your college application will probably require a lot less work. But unfortunately, I've never personally applied to a community college, so I really don't know. Also, before I actually start talking about the college application process itself, I would like to quickly advise you guys to not hire a college application mentor. Now, I'm not talking about the English teachers who actually read and revise your essays, because unlike a college mentor, they actually produce value. By college application mentor, I am talking about those people who are basically keep track of your process throughout the application and give you advice along the way. Because first off, those are extravagantly overpriced and will probably not make much of a difference when it comes to your odds of getting accepted into your dream school. But I also think they're just a waste of time. I mean, I am pretty much just giving you a walkthrough and providing all the information in this video right here. So yeah, realistically, I'm saving you a couple $1,000s. You're welcome. Now please leave a like in return. I am desperately begging you. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more helpful videos. Alright, I think I waffled a lot, so let's just go ahead and get into this video. Now, I personally recommend all you guys to try and start your application as early as possible, so around at the end of May would be a good time to actually start on your application. Now, if you're one of those people who procrastinated on your college applications, who are just starting to apply in November, follow the same process, but just ignore the timeline, because the time you actually have will be significantly limited. Anyways, by the time your junior year ends, you should have a good idea of where your SAT score and GPA is at. So with that information, go ahead and start researching schools. When you research schools, start by organizing a list with 3 categories. The first category will be your safety school, which will be schools that have a lower average GPA and SAT score for their accepted students as compared to your GPA and SAT score. Now, if you don't know where to actually get that information, go to prepscholar.com. I'll go ahead and leave that link in the description below. I really like this website because it not only tells you the average SAT score and average GPA for the accepted students for their school, but it also lets you put in your own information to see your odds of actually getting accepted. Now, obviously the information is not 100% accurate from that website, but it should give you some sort of an idea. Anyways, your safety schools will be schools that you should expect a fair amount of scholarship from, and you'll probably only go there if worst comes worst, or if they offer you a huge amount of scholarship that you just can't refuse. I personally would pick at least 2 to 3 schools to put on that list. The next category will be your matched schools. These schools have about the same average GPA and SAT score for their accepted students as compared to your GPA and SAT score. These schools will be schools that you think you'll have a decent chance of getting into if your application is appealing. I would recommend you to have at least 4 schools on this list, because it is most likely that you will end up going to a school on this list. The last category will be your reach schools. These schools will have a higher average GPA and SAT score as compared to your GPA and SAT score. This is probably where your dream school should be. These schools will very much be like a gamble for you. Maybe you'll get in, maybe you won't. Now, please keep in mind that the schools on this list are your reach schools, so please don't get too upset if you don't get in, because again, the odds are supposed to be stacked against you. Alright, so go ahead and take some time and come up with this list. This will probably take you about a week, maybe a little more. Now I want to take a moment to just talk about the SAT. If you are happy with your current score, congrats! You'll no longer have to worry about that again, which is a huge relief. However, for everyone else, do not stress. Just study and practice a little bit every day. If you want some shortcuts, I have a video where I talk about how you can easily improve your SAT score in the description below. You also have like 4 more opportunities to actually take the test before the application deadlines. Anyways, now it is time to fill out your application form. So go ahead and make a Common App account or whichever website your college uses and start filling out the forms. When you start filling out the application forms, you will usually notice that there are 3 types of application. You can either submit an early decision application, early action application, or a regular decision application. Now, keep in mind, some schools actually don't take early decision applications or even early action applications. But if you're applying to like 5 schools, you'll most likely encounter at least one school that will take all 3 of those applications. Now, you have the opportunity to apply to one school with an early decision application. Early decision gives you a slight advantage because it gives the institution the signal that you are dedicated to go there. However, please choose carefully, because if you get accepted through early decision, you will have to attend that institution, which is why you can only do it once, because obviously you can't be forced to go to 2 colleges, right? Now, some of you guys may be asking, David, is there a penalty if you do not attend after getting accepted through early decision? Well, my response to that is yes, unless it is due to a financial issue and you can't afford it. Now, what is the punishment, you may ask? To be honest, I am not entirely sure, as I don't know anyone personally who have actually encountered this situation. But I can guarantee you that it is not a punishment you want. So to avoid the unnecessary mess, only choose early decision if it is your dream school and you are committed to going there at all costs. Now let's talk about the early action application. Early action applications usually have the exact same deadline as an early decision application, but you're not going to be forced to attend if you get accepted. Now, in theory, there aren't any advantages for students who apply through an early action application as compared to students who apply at the regular deadline, which is true. I mean, an admissions officer is not going to start lowering their standard just because your application is early. However, if you apply by the regular deadline, the program you intend to apply for may have already been full. If that is the case, you may get waitlisted regardless of how qualified you think you are. This is why so many people get waitlisted from schools that are supposed to be their safety schools. So my advice to you is to apply to as many schools as you can early. Alright, so there's one more portion of these application forms that I kind of want to spend some time to talk about. And this section is where you'll be listing all of your extracurricular activities / community service. Now, please spend some time on this and try to make your roles from the clubs you joined more important than they really are, even if you were just a member, because this is really only opportunity to show what extracurricular activities you were involved in. Besides that, these application forms are pretty straightforward and should really not take too long, probably a couple hours in total if you do choose to do it all at once. Now, when filling out the rest of these applications, I personally recommend you to have a parent next to you when you fill out these forms, because 1, you'll have an extra pair of eyes to make sure you don't make a mistake, and 2, because you may not have all of the necessary information required to complete these forms. So, researching your college and filling out those forms should take about a month, maybe a little bit more. Now it is time for you to start the most time-consuming and stressful part of college applications, which is the essay. So usually you'll be required to write at least one main essay. Basically, you will have a prompt to choose from and you'll have to respond to it. Some colleges will actually let you pick whichever prompt you want, and some colleges will pick a specific prompt for you. My advice to you is obviously to try to double dip as much as you can. I mean, why would you spend all that time to write 2 essays if you don't actually have to? For example, if one college wants an essay about prompt A and one college lets you pick whichever prompt you want, it is probably in your best interest to write an essay about prompt A and make it your best work. The reason why this is probably the most important part of your application is because this is your one opportunity to actually impress the admissions officer. I mean, during the months from November to February, an admissions officer would probably have to look at hundreds of applications every single day. This means that they probably won't even spend more than 5 minutes actually looking at your application, which is why I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to make your essay stand out. You'll want to do whatever you can to promote yourself and make yourself sound unique. Unfortunately, this is where most people start abusing the college application by writing BS that's not even true. I mean, I can't really stop you from lying on your essays, but sometimes, just sometimes, if you manage to impress a college admissions officer too much, they may actually search you up. And if you write BS, the admissions officer may just find out. And trust me, that will not be good. Not only will you probably lose your acceptance you otherwise may have had, the admissions officer can also snitch and inform all the other schools you are applying to about this, and you probably won't want that. But then some other smart aleck will be like, well, what if I make up a BS story about something that happened to me? I mean, a college admissions officer certainly won't be able to find that information out from the internet. Well, my response to that is you better hope that the college you are applying to does not require an interview, because trust me, they're gonna ask you a bunch of questions about it. People are not stupid. They can tell when you're lying. Alright, so something else you want to keep your eye on in terms of essays are your supplemental essays. Keep in mind that some schools actually do not have supplemental essays, but most top schools do. A supplemental essay is basically an essay where you answer a specific question or set of questions the institution you are applying to wants to know. It is basically an opportunity for you to let the college know why you are applying. Usually they'll be slightly different depending on what major you are applying for. Same rules with the main essay. Try to promote yourself without lying. Alright, so go ahead and start planning out how many essays you actually have to write. Feel free to use a Google spreadsheet to keep yourself organized. That way you can track all of your supplemental essays and all the other parts of your application as well. Now, use the rest of the summer to write out these essays. If you have a rough draft of all of the essays you'll need before school even starts, you are way ahead of the game. So let's say your senior year has just started. Now it is time for you to start revising and editing your essays and making them sound as good as possible. For this, I definitely recommend you hiring an English teacher. You can easily ask around for any recommendations. However, if you are struggling to find one, you can easily find someone on Fiverr to revise and edit your essays. Now, take the next couple of months to improve your essay and polish it while you're at it. Start looking for teachers who are willing to write you a recommendation letter. This can be from your biology teacher, your geometry teacher, your theater teacher, or even your PE teacher. Wait, actually, I'm not sure if it's actually wise for you to actually ask a PE teacher to write your recommendation letters. I know a lot of schools actually don't require recommendation letters, but most top colleges do. So I would recommend you to have at least 3. This can definitely be a rather uncomfortable process, especially if you're not that one kid every teacher likes. But remember, this is technically a part of a teacher's job. So as long as you're not a complete douchebag of a student, your teacher should gladly write you a letter. You also need a recommendation letter from your counselor. However, this should be a really easy process because it is literally in a high school counselor's job description to write letters for incoming college students. And don't worry too much about your counselor not knowing you or anything, because most of the time you will actually have to fill out a form that gives your counselor instructions on what to write about. So yeah, you should have nothing to worry about. Alright, so as you start to complete your applications, now it is time to submit them. Now, I know a lot of people like to wait until the last day of the due date to actually submit the applications, but I honestly think that's stupid. I mean, what if there's a glitch in the system and your application does not go through? Now, in that case, sometimes the school will actually own up to their mistakes and give you another day for redemption or something. But what if your school is not willing to do that? This is why my advice is that if you believe your application cannot be better, just go ahead and submit it. Alright, so once you submit your application, you should get at least 2 emails. One from Common App or whichever website you applied from, emailing you the receipt of the application fee. And then you should get an email a few days later from the institution you applied to, letting you know that they have received your application and any missing parts you will still need. Usually, you'll have a couple weeks to have that taken care of. Now, most of the time, the stuff you actually still need are very small. Like maybe you still need to turn in an additional recommendation letter, or you need to submit a vaccination record or something like that. Now it is time for you to start to apply for financial aid. So go ahead and make a FOPS account and a CSS account. Now, unfortunately, my parents actually filled out these forms for me, so I really can't give too much information on the process of actually filling out the form. However, what I can say is, even if you're probably not going to be qualified for any need-based scholarship, you're still going to be getting something for filling out the application, even if it's like $1,000 a year. And $1,000 a year from just a few extra hours hours of work is definitely something I would take. And that should conclude the college application process. You should hear from the schools you applied to in a couple months. If you want a more specific date, search it up on your school's website or your application portal because it should be there. Also, if you want me to make a video about what you should do after you hear from the schools, let me know in the comments below and I will make one. Now, parents who are watching this video, please do not scold your kid if he or she gets rejected from a school you want them to attend, because chances are it is probably more disappointing to them than it actually is to you. The least you can do is support your kids and try to make them feel better. Anyways, that's all I have. Please let me know if I missed anything in this video in the comments below. I started my college application about 2 years ago, and I planned this video entirely based off of my memory. I honestly tried my best, but there is probably something I forgot to include. Anyways, thank you guys for watching and good luck on your applications.